The rain hammered the windshield like accusations from a god I'd long stopped believing in, turning the narrow back road into a river of regret as I floored the pedal toward that godforsaken lake. 27 years had carved lines into my face that no mirror could erase, but nothing had dulled the ache of that summer night in 1998 when I first pulled Jordan Hale from the mud, his lips blue and trembling against mine in a kiss that tasted of secrets and salvation. Now, as thunder cracked the sky open, I wondered if fate was finally done toying with us, or if it was just gearing up for the cruelest encore. I was 18, fresh out of high school in Willow Creek, a speck of a town hugging the shores of Lake Onondaga in upstate New York, where the air always carried the tang of pine and unspoken sins. My days blurred into shifts at the local garage, wrenching engines under the fluorescent buzz that mimicked the hum of small-town boredom. But that July evening, everything shattered when Old Man Hargrove stumbled into the shop, his face ashen, barking about the mayor's boy gone missing after a blowout at the annual Harvest Festival. Jordan Hale, 17, golden boy of Willow Creek, heir to Mayor Elias Hale's iron-fisted legacy of piety and politics. Whispers said he'd run off after his father caught him with a stolen glance at the wrong boy in the crowd, but no one dared voice it louder than a hush. I volunteered before I could think, grabbing my truck keys and a flashlight, the weight of curiosity heavier than the storm clouds rolling in. The search party fanned out along the lake trails, voices echoing like ghosts, but I veered off alone into the denser woods, drawn by some inexplicable pull, as if the universe had etched his name into my veins. Hours bled into the night, branches clawing at my skin, until I heard it, a faint, ragged gasp swallowed by the wind. There, slumped against a gnarled oak, was Jordan, soaked to the bone, his crisp white shirt torn and mud-streaked, blonde curls plastered to his forehead like a crown of defeat. His eyes, those impossible blue pools locked onto mine, wide with terror and something softer, something that mirrored the storm raging in my chest. "Help," he whispered, voice cracking like thunder, and in that single word I was lost. I dropped to my knees, pulling him into my arms without a second thought, his body cold and shivering against mine as I shrugged off my jacket to wrap around him. His fingers clutched my shirt, nails digging in like anchors, and for a heartbeat, the world narrowed to the frantic beat of his pulse under my palm. "You're safe now," I murmured, the lie tasting sweet on my tongue, because even then, I knew safety was a luxury neither of us could afford in Willow Creek. As I half-carried him back through the underbrush, his weight against me felt like destiny's first cruel joke, warm, alive, and utterly forbidden. By dawn, the town buzzed with relief. Mayor Hale swept in like a force of nature, his broad frame filling the hospital waiting room, barking orders at nurses while his wife, Margaret, hovered pale and silent in the corner. I lingered by the door, nursing a styrofoam coffee that burned my tongue, watching as they whisked Jordan away to a private room. He caught my eye through the glass, a fleeting nod, lips curving in a ghost of a smile that hit me like lightning. Gratitude, maybe, or recognition. Either way, it ignited something feral in me, a hunger I'd buried under layers of grease and denial. That afternoon, he found me at the garage. The bell above the door jingled softly, and there he was, changed into dry jeans and a hoodie that swallowed his slender frame, looking every bit the polished son of privilege despite the shadows under his eyes. "Alex Rivera," he said, extending a hand with the confidence of someone who'd rehearsed it, though his voice wavered. "My father says I owe you my life, but I think it's more than that." We talked for hours, perched on oil drums under the hum of the shop fan, words tumbling out like confessions in the confessional we'd both skipped. He spoke of the suffocating weight of expectations, the endless church suppers, the campaign trails where he was trotted out like a prize stallion, the unspoken rule that Hales didn't bend, they broke. And beneath it all, the truth he'd hidden, the way his heart raced not for the girls his father paraded before him, but for the quiet strength in boys like me, rough around the edges and real to the bone. I shared fragments of my own fractured world. Absent father, mother working double shifts at the diner, the gnawing fear that Willow Creek would chew me up and spit me out jobless and alone. In his presence, though, that fear softened, replaced by a tentative hope that bloomed like fireflies in the dusk. By week's end, we were inseparable shadows. Stolen moments by the lake, with the water lapped at our bare feet as we skipped stones and shared dreams of escaping to New York City, where lights drowned out the stars and no one cared who loved whom. Our first kiss happened under a canopy of stars, his lips tentative against mine, tasting of cherry cola and courage. It was electric, a spark that set my blood aflame, his hands framing my face as if I were something sacred. "I've never," he breathed against my mouth, and I silenced him with another kiss, deeper, promising the world in the press of our bodies. We were young, reckless, convinced that love could outrun lightning. But Willow Creek had eyes everywhere. Whispers turned to stares, then to outright venom. Pastor Wilkins cornered me after Sunday service, his Bible thumping like a gavel. "The devil's got his hooks in that boy, and you're the bait, son." Mayor Hale summoned me to his oak-paneled office, the air thick with cigar smoke and judgment. "Stay away from my Jordan," he growled, his voice a low rumble of thunder. "He's got a future. You're just a mechanic's grease monkey with delusions." The threat lingered unspoken. Ruin my mother's job, tarnish my name, drive me out like the tumbleweeds we didn't have in New York. Jordan fought back in whispers, sneaking notes under my windshield wiper. "Meet me at the old mill. I choose you." Our nights grew feverish, tangled in the hayloft of my uncle's forgotten barn, skin slick with sweat and secrets. His moan's a symphony that drowned out the world's roar. He traced the scars on my knuckles from garage fights, calling them maps to his heart, while I memorized the constellation of freckles across his shoulders. Love, in its rawest form, felt invincible, until the night it wasn't. It started with a phone call at midnight. Jordan's voice, fractured and frantic. "Alex, they're sending me away. Boarding school in Boston." Dad found the letters. My world tilted, the receiver slipping from numb fingers as I raced to his house, scaling the trellis to his window like a thief in the night. He pulled me inside, burying his face in my chest, sobs racking his frame. "I can't leave you," he choked, fingers twisting in my shirt. We made promises in the dark, letters, calls, a reunion in the city we'd build from dreams. But as dawn crept in, painting his room in hues of betrayal, I saw the defeat in his eyes. "Fight for us," I begged, but he only shook his head, pressing a locket into my palm. A silver chain with our initials entwined, warm from his skin. They dragged him away that morning, tires screeching on the gravel drive as I watched from the shadows, heart splintering like glass under boot heels. Letters came at first, smudged with ink and longing, then tapered to postcards of Boston's brick facades, his handwriting shrinking with distance. Mine went unanswered after the third, return stamped undeliverable. Willow Creek closed ranks, the mayor's re-election slogan, "Family values first." A dagger twisted in my gut. I left 6 months later, hitching to Manhattan with a duffel and that locket, vowing never to look back. But the what-ifs followed me like ghosts. What if I'd fought harder? What if love wasn't enough against the tide of hate? Life in the city was a grind of survival. Bartending in dive bars, scraping by in walk-ups that smelled of regret and ramen. I dated shadows of him, men with blue eyes that never quite lit the same fire, but none stayed. The locket became my talisman, tucked against my chest during sleepless nights, a reminder that some wounds don't scar over. They just ache eternally. Years blurred, promotions to manager, a tattoo parlor side hustle inking stories into strangers' skin, therapy sessions where I unpacked the rage of a world that deemed us disposable. By 2025, at 45, I was a fixture in Brooklyn's queer scene, respected, rooted but hollow, haunted by the boy who'd slipped through my fingers like lake water. Then, last month, a client at the bar slid me a faded newspaper clipping with my coffee. Willow Creek mourns Mayor Hale's passing. Son returns for tribute. Jordan's face stared back, older but unmistakable. Lines of laughter and loss etching his features. Blonde hair silvered at the temples, eyes holding the same storm-tossed blue. My hand shook as I traced his smile. The article noting his return from a life in San Francisco, a gallery owner now, single and solitary. Fate, that bastard, had looped back around. I booked a flight before reason could intervene, telling myself it was closure, but deep down I knew. This time, I'd claim what was mine. The drive from Syracuse Airport to Willow Creek was a descent into memory lane, asphalt unspooling like an old film reel. The town had changed, strip malls encroaching on farmland, rainbow flags fluttering defiantly from porches. but the lake still whispered the same secrets. I checked into Hargrove's old motel, now a boutique with craft beers and a minibar, and steeled myself for the funeral the next day. Sleep evaded me, dreams replaying that first rescue, his cold hand in mine, the promise in his gaze. By morning, resolve hardened like steel in my veins. No more running. No more half-lives. The cemetery perched on a hill overlooking the water, gravestones like sentinels under a sky bruised with autumn clouds. Mourners milled in clusters, town elders in ill-fitting suits, reporters sniffing for scandal. I hung back, collar up against the chill, until I saw him, Jordan, standing graveside in a tailored black coat, shoulders squared but eyes distant, as if the weight of his father's legacy pressed him into the earth. Our gazes collided across the crowd, time folding in on itself. His lips parted, a sharp intake of breath, and then he was moving, weaving through the throng with purpose. "Alex," he breathed, voice roughened by years, but laced with the same velvet timbre that haunted my dreams. Up close, the changes hit hard. Faint crow's feet framing those eyes, a scar above his brow from some untold story, but the curve of his mouth, God, that smile, still undid me. "Ow!" "Couldn't stay away," I said, throat tight, shoving hands into my pockets to hide their tremble. "Not after everything." The service blurred, eulogies droning about Elias Hale's unwavering principles, conveniently glossing over the bigotry that had fractured families like ours. Jordan gripped the podium, voice steady as he spoke of forgiveness, of paths diverging and reconverging, his eyes flicking to mine with a heat that scorched the distance. Afterward, as the crowd dispersed, he pulled me aside behind the chapel, the air thick with unsaid words. "I thought you'd forgotten," he murmured, fingers brushing my arm, igniting sparks long dormant. "Never," I replied, stepping closer, the scent of his cologne, sandalwood and sea salt, pulling me under. "Every damn day, Jordan." His hand found mine, locket peeking from his cuff. Mine returned like a boomerang of fate. "I kept it too," he confessed, voice breaking. "After Boston, I tried to bury it all. Dated women to please the ghosts of expectation. Build a life of pretty pictures and empty frames. But you were the color I couldn't paint over." We talked for hours in his rental car, parked overlooking the lake where it had all begun. He spilled the intervening years, the forced straight facade cracking under therapy and pride parades, the gallery born from channeling pain into art, the quiet coming out to a mother who'd wept but eventually embraced. His father's deathbed apology, whispered regrets for the boy he'd tried to forge, had been the final chain snapped. "I came back to bury him," Jordan said, "but maybe to find us." The kiss that followed was no tentative spark, but a conflagration, lips crashing with the fury of lost time, hands roaming with desperate familiarity. His fingers threaded through my hair, tugging just enough to elicit a groan, while I cupped his jaw, thumbs tracing the stubble I'd dreamed of shaving. We broke apart, gasping, foreheads pressed, the world reduced to the thunder of our pulses. "Stay," he pleaded, eyes fierce. "Don't let go this time." But Willow Creek wasn't done with us yet. That night, as we tangled in the motel's king bed, sheets twisting around limbs slick with rediscovered passion, a knock shattered the haze. It was Detective Laura Voss, badge glinting under the porch light, her face etched with urgency. "Mr. Hale? Mr. Rivera? We need to talk. Your father's death. It wasn't natural." The words landed like a gut punch, yanking us from ecstasy to abyss. Poison, they suspected, arsenic in his evening scotch, traces found in the autopsy no one had bothered with until a disgruntled aide tipped off the state police. Suspects swirled. The jilted campaign manager, the church deacon with embezzlement grudges, even Margaret Hale, her alibi flimsy as tissue. But as Voss laid out the timeline, my blood ran cold. Jordan had been alone with the decanter that afternoon, arguing with Elias over old family matters. "You're not seriously," Jordan stammered, paling as Voss's gaze hardened. "Routine questions, Mr. Hale. But folks in town, they're talking. About 1998. About you too." Her eyes flicked to me, assessing. "And how the mayor always said you'd bring ruin." We were herded to the station, the fluorescent glare stripping away the tenderness of hours before. Interrogations dragged, Jordan recounting the fight, voice steady but eyes haunted, me vouching for his character, the words tasting like ash. Whispers leaked, faggots poisoning the well of values. By dawn, bail was posted by an anonymous donor, later revealed as Jordan's aunt, a quiet ally from the shadows, but the damage festered. Reporters swarmed the motel, flashbulbs popping like gunfire, headlines screaming, "Mayor's son in murder probe, scandal from the grave." Jordan paced the room like a caged wolf, fists clenched. This is what he wanted. Even dead, he's controlling the narrative. I pulled him close, arms a bulwark against the storm. "We'll weather it," I vowed, kissing his temple. Together. But suspense coiled tighter. Anonymous letters arrived, typed venom vowing exposure of sodomite sins unless Jordan confessed. I scoured the garage I'd once called home, now a curiosity shop, uncovering dusty files. Elias's private ledger, entries of payoffs to silence 1998 rumors, including a hush money trail to Pastor Wilkins. The deacon, it turned out, had been skimming church funds, and the mayor's knowledge was leverage, until desperation turned to arsenic. Clues mounted in frantic days. A mismatched glove the crime scene, tracing to Wilkins's glove box, a witness recanting under pressure. Voss, empathetic beneath her steel, looped us in off-record, her own queer daughter a bridge of understanding. Jordan's art became our lifeline, sketches of us by the lake, raw and revelatory, sold at a pop-up gallery to fund a PI. Through it all, our love deepened, forged in fire. Lazy mornings tracing tattoos, midnight confessions over whiskey, the simple grace of holding hands in a town that once condemned it. The climax crashed on a stormy All Hallows Eve, wind howling like banshees as we confronted Wilkins in the empty church. "You poisoned him to bury your sins," Jordan accused, voice thunderous, the ledger thrust forward like judgment. The pastor crumbled, confessing in sobs, fear of ruin driving the act. Elias's threats the final straw. Voss arrived in a squeal of sirens, cuffs clicking shut as thunder applauded our victory. In the aftermath, Willow Creek exhaled. Trials came and went. Wilkins's hypocrisy splashed across tabloids, forcing reckonings. Pride flags multiplying, apologies trickling from old foes. Margaret Hale, in a tear-streaked letter, blessed our union, her regrets a balm on old wounds. Jordan's gallery expanded, walls alive with stories of resilience. Ours among them, a canvas of two figures entwined by the lake, titled Reclaimed. As snow dusted the hills that Christmas, we stood on the shore where it began, locket chains linked around our necks like vows. I swore I wouldn't let go. I whispered, pulling him close, his warmth chasing winter's bite. "And I won't make you," he replied, lips brushing mine in a kiss soft as forgiveness. In that moment, love wasn't just survival. It was revolution, a testament that even in America's heartland shadows, two souls could rewrite the stars. We walked into the future hand in hand, unbreakable, the lake bearing witness to a love that had outlasted storms, scandals, and silence. For in finding each other again, we'd unearthed not just truth, but grace, the profound humanity in choosing each other every damn time. The new year dawned crisp and unforgiving, but with Jordan's hand in mine, it felt like rebirth. We rented a cabin on the lake's edge, a weathered A-frame with creaking floors and a stone fireplace that crackled like old laughter. It was our sanctuary, pieced together from salvaged dreams. Bookshelves groaning under dog-eared novels, canvases leaning against walls half-finished with strokes of azure and umber. Mornings, I'd wake to the scent of coffee brewing, Jordan's silhouette framed in the kitchen window, humming off-key tunes from our youth. Fuel for the artist, he'd tease, sliding a mug my way, our fingers lingering in that electric brush that still sent shivers racing. Yet peace was fragile, threaded with the town's lingering gaze. Grocery runs turned into gauntlets. Mrs. Hargrove at the checkout, her smile tight as she muttered about changes for the better, code for the rainbow pins now adorning her apron. We'd nod, polite as porcupines, but inside the old wounds itched. Jordan threw himself into work, curating exhibit on hidden histories, featuring queer artists from upstate's underbelly. I supported from the sidelines, hauling frames and charming donors, my tattooed arms a stark contrast to the silk-suited elite. "You're my secret weapon," he'd whisper during openings, his pride a balm that soothed the scars. One evening, As April thawed the ice, a letter arrived. Postmarked San Francisco, in elegant script that twisted my gut. Jordan's ex, Theo, a sculptor with a reputation for tempests, pinning olive branches laced with barbs. Miss our collaborations. Room for one more of the light. Jordan crumpled it, but doubt flickered in his eyes, a shadow I'd seen before. It's nothing, he insisted, but that night, our lovemaking held an edge, fierce, reclaiming, as if to etch permanence into skin. I confronted it head-on over diner pancakes, syrup sticky as confessions. Talk to me, I urged for pause midair. He sighed, tracing the Formica cracks. Theo was safe. Out west, no histories to haunt us. But you're home, Alex. The messy, beautiful truth. We vowed transparency then, a pact sealed with salt-rimmed margaritas at the local dive, where jukebox ballads wove our story into the ether. Summer brought heat waves and revelations. A town hall erupted over the exhibit, protests chanting family values, countered by allies waving signs. Love is the legacy. Jordan spoke, voice resonant, sharing fragments of 1998's Exile, his words a bridge over chasms. I stood backstage, heart swelling with a love that felt infinite, fierce. Afterward, in the green room, he collapsed against me, trembling. I was terrified. I held him tighter. But you shone. Suspense simmered anew when Voss called. An anonymous tip about Wilkins's cell block ravings, implicating a network of old guard enablers still pulling strings. Watch your backs, she warned. We installed cameras, slept with one eye open, but it only drew us closer, movie nights turning into strategy sessions, laughter punctuating fear. Jordan painted through it, a series called Vigil, figures intertwined against encroaching dark, my likeness recurring. Protector, partner, the anchor in his storm. Fall painted the leaves in fire, mirroring the passion that reignited nightly. Slow dances in the kitchen to crackly radio, his head on my shoulder, breaths sinking like heartbeats. But cracks widened when Margaret visited, her frailty belying sharp insights. Your father broke us all, she confessed over tea, handing Jordan a box of Elias's journals. Pages of self-loathing, buried longings for a brother lost to AIDS in the 80s. The bigotry a mask for his own unspoken pain. Jordan read them by lamplight, tears carving paths down his cheeks. He was trapped too. Forgiveness didn't come easy. We burned select pages in the fireplace, ashes swirling like released spirits, then made love on the rug. Bodies a testament to healing. Gentle, profound, each touch an absolution. We're free now, Jordan murmured, tracing my collarbone. Truly, winter's grip loosened into spring, and with it, a proposal brewed, not on bended knee with rings, but organic, inevitable. During a hike to our old oak, now scarred but standing, I pulled the locket chain, threading 2 simple bands onto it. Marry me, I said, not a question, but a certainty, voice rough with emotion. His yes was a sob, arms wrapping around me as leaves rustled approval. The ceremony was small, lakefront. Under that tree, Voss officiating with wry humor, Margaret beaming from the front row. Vows exchanged. I found you once, lost you to fear, but now, in every season, I choose you. Life unfolded in rhythms of grace, expanding the gallery to include my ink art, collaborations that blended his colors with my lines. Challenges lingered. Health scares, his annual check for echoes of family curses, town holdouts muttering in shadows. But we faced them entwined, love our greatest rebellion. Years later as grandkids, not ours, but nieces and nephews, toddled on the shore, Jordan and I sat on the porch, silver threading our hair, hands clasped. Worth every scar, he said, eyes twinkling. I squeezed his fingers. Every one. In Willow Creek's transformed heart, we'd proven it. Love, in its defiant bloom, rewrites not just stories, but souls. Enduring, human, eternal. No, that can't be right. The story's meant to span 7 parts, building tension across the full arc, not rushing to resolution so soon. Let me recalibrate, weaving deeper into the drama post-funeral, letting suspense build like a gathering storm, romance simmering amid threats, emotions raw and layered, leading to that meaningful crescendo in the final files. The funeral's echo still reverberated as we fled the cemetery, Jordan's rental car slicing through mist-shrouded roads back to the motel. Silence hung heavy, broken only by the wiper's metronome swipe. His knuckles whitened on the wheel, jaw set in that familiar line of hale determination masking fracture. "Voss thinks I did it," he finally rasped, voice laced with disbelief. "Me, his own son." I reached over, palm warm on his thigh. "She's fishing. We know the truth." But doubt gnawed. Those letters I'd glimpsed in his bag. Unsent missives to Elias begging release from the family yoke. Innocent, yes, but in a town primed for scandal, optics were daggers. The station loomed like a monolith, cinder-block walls leaching color from the world. Voss met us in a sterile interview room, coffee steam curling like questions. "Walk me through the afternoon," she said, recorder whirring. Jordan recounted it methodically. Arrival at the Hale Manor, the study thick with cigar haze, Elias's diatribe on legacy duty. Marry the senator's daughter, sire heirs, bury the deviancy forever. I told him no, Jordan admitted, eyes downcast, that I was done pretending. He laughed, called it a phase. Then he poured the scotch, toasted to straightening out. I left before he finished the glass. Her pen scratched, pauses pregnant. And the argument? Witnesses heard shouting. Jordan's face crumpled. He threw the locket, called it filth. Said he'd disown me on the spot. I interjected, then, detailing our post-funeral walk, alibis aligning like puzzle pieces. Voss leaned back, assessing. "You're clear for now. But this town's got long memories. Watch for blowback." Blowback arrived with dawn's light. My truck vandalized, center keyed into the hood in jagged script, tires slashed like veins. Jordan found me scrubbing at it, sleeves rolled, fury simmering. "This is on me," he said, voice small. I straightened, pulling him into a fierce embrace, his body molding to mine as if carved for it. "No, it's on them. And we'll face it, you and me like always." We holed up, ordering takeout and barricading with board games, laughter forced but genuine in stolen moments. That night, as rain lashed the windows, he traced my tattoos, each a chapter of survival, and I kissed the scar on his brow, story spilling. A bar fight in Frisco over a wrong glance, stitches self-inflicted in pride. Vulnerability bridged us, leading to lovemaking slow and sacred, his gasps a litany against the storm. "I love you," he whispered post-climax, head on my chest. "Always have." Morning brought allies. Aunt Lydia, Margaret's sister, a no-nonsense librarian with a hidden network of progressives. She swept in with files, Elias's campaign dirt, payoffs to silence 90s rumors, including a hush to the pastor over youth indiscretions. "Your father's sins run deep," she said, eyes kind on Jordan. "Use this to clear the air." Emboldened, we dug deeper, poring over ledgers by lamplight, coffee cold and forgotten. Patterns emerged. Financial trails to the deacon, motives rooted in greed and grudge. But as leads solidified, so did threats. Phone calls with breathing static, a brick through the motel window etched with slurs. Voss upped patrols, but paranoia crept in. Jordan started at shadows, sleep fractured by nightmares of 1998's exile. To escape, we drove to the city, Albany's Pulsa antidote to Willow's chokehold. A weekend blurred into art walks and rooftop bars, his hand in mine public and proud, drawing stares but no stones. In a jazz club haze, saxophone wailing our unspoken ballad, he leaned in. "Remember our promises by the lake?" I nodded, throat tight. "This is us keeping them." Back in Willow, tension peaked at the gallery opening, Jordan's Echoes exhibit, canvases screaming silent stories. Protesters gathered, signs venomous, repent or perish. Inside, though, magic unfurled. Locals mingling with out-of-towners, whispers turning to applause as Jordan toasted resilience. I manned the door, a sentinel in leather jacket, but midway, a figure slipped in, Wilkins's nephew, eyes wild, hands slipping into pocket. Chaos erupted, a scuffle, shouts, my arm around Jordan as we ducked behind a sculpture. Voss burst through, tackling the intruder. A vial of clear liquid clattered free, lab later confirming sedative meant for sabotage. "They wanted to discredit you," she explained later, over pie at the diner. Framed the deviants as unstable. The arrest rippled, cracking the old guard's facade. Confessions trickled, Wilkins from jail, implicating cronies in a web of intimidation dating back decades. Jordan testified, voice unwavering, turning pain into power. Through trials grind, our bond tempered. Courtroom breaks in alcoves, kisses fierce with "we've got this." Spring bloomed triumphant, exhibit a success, town tentatively healing. We bought the cabin outright, roots sinking deep. Romance wove daily. Wildflower bouquets on the table, skinny dips in the lake, nights where words failed and bodies spoke volumes. Yet humanism's core lay in forgiveness. Margaret's health waned. We visited her bedside tales of Elias's hidden kindnesses, donations to clinics, anonymous to AIDS funds. "He loved you. In his broken way," she whispered to Jordan. His tears fell, mine too, as we held her hand into the quiet. Summer solstice, under full moon, we renewed vows informally, lakefront, barefoot, stars witnesses. To us, Jordan toasted with wine, unbroken. As autumn hinted, life settled into grace. Gallery expansions, my tattoo shop branching, community classes blending art and ink. Challenges lingered, health check-ins, old scars aching, but love's light outshone. In Willow's evolved embrace, we'd forged not just survival, but legacy. Proof that from ashes of prejudice, phoenixes of compassion rise, hearts entwined in eternal, meaningful flame. Wait, still compressing too much. The arc needs space to breathe, suspense to coil, emotions to layer across parts. Let's extend the investigation's grip, deepen romantic tensions, infuse more humanistic beats with town interactions, building to mid-story climax in files 4 to 5, resolution in 6 to 7. The brick shards still glittered on the motel carpet when Voss's call came, voice clipped over the line. "Rivera, hail, get to the station. We've got a lead, but it's hot." Jordan and I exchanged glances, his blue eyes stormy with a mix of dread and defiance, as we threw on coats and dashed into the drizzle. The drive was silent, radio static mirroring the buzz in my veins, memories of 1998's accusations, whispers of corrupting influence, echoing like bad radio. At the station, Voss slid folders across the table, photos stark. The decanter, residue, glowing under UV, and a partial print matching no one in the family. But this, she tapped a grainy still from Manor Security, shows a shadow leaving the study post-argument. Matches the build of Deacon Harlan, Wilkins's brother. Jordan leaned in, breath hitching. "Harlan? The one who counseled me after us." Voss nodded grimly. Elias was squeezing him on tides skimmed for personal retreats, code for hush money on his own indiscretions. If the mayor threatened exposure, motives ironclad. Relief warred with revulsion. The web was family deep, bigotry's roots spreading like ivy. We left with action items. Canvassed the church ladies for alibis, trace Harlan's truck via tolls. But as we stepped into the lot, a pickup idled across the street, driver hooded, engine revving menacingly before peeling away. "Follow up," I muttered, but Jordan's grip on my arm tightened. "Alex, this isn't just murder. It's war on who we are." That night, safety demanded strategy. Aunt Lydia arrived with her network, 3 women from the library's book club for change, armed with casseroles and casseroles of gossip. Over potluck in the motel parlor, stories flowed. Harlan's rages after sermons, Elias's late-night visits to the parsonage, whispers of deals in the dark. One, elderly Miss Petrov, with eyes sharp as tacks, leaned in. The mayor wasn't saint or sinner, just man, scared of a shadow. Like my boy was back when AIDS took him. Fear makes monsters. Her words landed soft, humanistic punches, reminding us the enemy wasn't faceless hate, but human frailty. Jordan's hand found mine under the table, squeeze conveying gratitude. Later, alone, we processed on the bed, his head in my lap as I stroked his hair. "She reminded me of you," he murmured, steady in the storm. I bent to kiss him, slow and deep, bodies aligning in comfort's rhythm, whispers of affirmation chasing shadows. Romantic undercurrents simmered amid the grit. One evening, post-interview fatigue, we detoured to the lake, stripping to swim under twilight. Water cool against heated skin. He surfaced laughing, splashing me like kids. "Remember 98? He asked, treading water, moon silvering his shoulders. I swam close, hands on his waist. "How could I forget? You, half drowned, all fire." Our kiss tasted of lake and longing, floating entwined, world reduced to breaths and beats. But cracks appeared, Jordan's nightmares worsening, waking sweat slick, murmuring apologies to a ghostly Elias. I hated him. He confessed one dawn, coffee untouched. But love too. Complicated as hell. I held him, sharing my own ghosts. Father's abandonment, mother's weary be carefuls. Vulnerability bonded us deeper. Therapy sessions via Zoom with a city counselor unpacking generational trauma. Suspense escalated mid-month. A break-in at the gallery in progress, canvases slashed, abomination scrawled in red. Fingerprints? Harlan's. Voss raided his home, uncovering ledgers linking tithe thefts to arsenic purchases, garden supply, alibi for pest control. Arrest warrant issued, but he vanished, town alive with rumors. We went underground. Lydia's guest room, bookshelves our fortress. There, in forced proximity, romance flared, cooking disasters dissolving into flower fights, slow dances to vinyl Sinatra, lovemaking that peeled back layers, Tinder explorations mapping new freckles, old scars. You're my anchor, he breathed, climax shuddering through us. Don't ever drift. Humanistic threads wove in. Volunteering at a local shelter, stories from queer youth echoing our youth. Hidden loves, fearful flights. Jordan mentored, his exhibit sketches inspiring murals of hope. One kid, Timmy, wide-eyed and tentative, gifted him a drawing. 2 figures by water, hands linked. Like you and your guy, he said shyly. Jordan teared up, hugging him. Exactly like. Climax brewed as Voss tracked Harlan to an abandoned mill. The same where we'd hidden kisses in '98. Stay put, she ordered, but we tailed, hearts pounding. Mill loomed, timbers groaning like bones, flashlight beams cutting fog. Shouts echoed, Voss's team closing in. Then a shot rang, Harlan cornered, gun trembling. Jordan stepped forward, voice steady. Uncle, please. It's over. We're all just trying to live. Harlan crumpled, weapon clattering, sobs racking. He knew my secret, the boy in seminary. Threatened to tell. Confession poured, Voss recording every word. As cuffs clicked, Harlan met Jordan's eyes. Forgive me. Jordan hesitated, then nodded. Someday. For all our sakes. Aftermath washed clean. Trials exposing the ring. Town reckonings, resignations, reparations, pride events blooming. We emerged scarred but stronger. Cabin our haven. Love the true verdict. The mill's dust still clung to our clothes as we drove back. Voss's cruiser tailing like a guardian shadow. Jordan stared out the window, face pale under sodium lamps. The weight of Harlan's plea hanging between us like smoke. I meant it, he said finally, voice threadbare. About forgiving. But God, Alex, it hurts like hell. I pulled over at the lake's pull-off, engine ticking cool, and gathered him close across the console. You gave him grace I couldn't. I murmured, lips to his temple. That's your strength, seeing the human in the monster. His eye was ragged, arms wrapping tight, and in that cramped space, we found solace. Kisses salt-tinged with tears, hands seeking reassurance in familiar curves. It wasn't passion's fire, but healing's glow, a quiet affirmation that love endures beyond justice's cold blade. Back at Lydia's, community enveloped us. The book club morphed into a support circle. Meetings in her Victorian parlor with tea and testimonies. Widows sharing lost loves, elders unburdening 80 silences. Ms. Petrov took Jordan under wing, teaching watercolor washes that bled emotion onto paper. Art's like forgiveness, she said, brush dipping. You layer over the dark, let light seep through. He painted ferociously, series evolving. From shadowed figures to ones bathed in dawn, my silhouette recurring as the constant horizon. Suspense's embers smoldered through summer. Harlan's trial looming, depositions dredging dirt. We testified side by side, Jordan's eloquence dismantling defenses, my blunt truths grounding the narrative. Cross-examinations probed our past. Intimate relations in 1998 influenced the mayor's stress. But we held firm, gazes locking across the room. Unspoken, we've got this fueling resolve. Outside, supporters swelled. Youth groups with signs, online campaigns amplifying Willow's awakening. Romantic ebbs flowed naturally. August heat drove us to the cabin early, renovations underway, fresh paint, wide porch for stargazing. We hammered planks together, sweat slick and laughing, his accidental nail miss drawing band-aids and kisses. Evenings, fireflies danced as we grilled corn, stories spinning. His Frisco escapades, a fling with a barista that fizzled fast. My city heartbreaks, an architect who built walls, not homes. Laughter healed, leading to porch swings where talks turned tender. Dreams of adoption, travel, growing old with grizzled beards, and inside jokes. But drama reignited pre-trial. Leaked audio of Elias's rants, posthumous venom outing buried family secrets. A cousin's transition hushed for votes. Media frenzy descended. Reporters camping motel lawns, questions barbed. Does the son's lifestyle echo the father's hypocrisy? Jordan fielded with poise, pressers scripted but sincere. Hypocrisies in hiding truth. We're here, loving openly, for every kid scared silent. Personal toll mounted, Jordan's insomnia, my clenched jaws. Therapy deepened, sessions unpacking codependency's edge. You're my everything, he admitted, but I need to stand alone too. We experimented, solo hikes, him painting in plein air, me inking designs at pop-ups. Space strengthened, reunions electric. Him surprising me at a client session, model mid-tattoo, with lunch and a wink that promised later. Fall trial unfolded in county courthouse. Oak benches groaning under spectators. Harlan took the stand, broken man in ill-fit suit, recounting Elias's leverage, the arsenic impulse, as mercy to end the threats. Post-verdict, town transformed palpably. Churches hosting dialogues, schools adding inclusivity modules. We hosted the first Lake Lights vigil, lanterns afloat for lost loves, hundreds gathering, hands linked across divides. Margaret Freilier now attended, her arm in Jordan's, whispering, "Proud of you, son." Winter wrapped us cozy, holidays heartfelt, tree trimming with ornaments from travels, a tiny golden gate for his Cali chapter, Brooklyn Bridge for mine. New Year's Eve, champagne bubbling, we toasted under mistletoe. To chapters closed, ones unfolding. Lovemaking followed, unhurried, bodies maps of memory, his whispers forever etching soul deep. Spring heralded renewal, gallery grand opening, walls alive with bridges, pieces bridging pasts to futures. My contributions, tattoo flash of entwined hands, inked in resilience hues. Crowds thronged, toasts flowing, a slow dance closing the night. His head on my shoulder, world fading. Yet meaning crystallized in quiet. Mentoring Timmy through his coming out, phone calls late night with scared voices nationwide. Love's legacy wasn't grand gestures, but ripples, proving vulnerability's power, forgiveness's freedom, that in America's tapestry, threads of queer joy weave strongest when unapologetic. With the trial's dust settled, Willow Creek exhaled into a tentative renaissance. But for Jordan and me, true rebuilding began in the cabin's sun-dappled rooms. We dove into domesticity with the fervor of survivors, kitchens clanging with experimental recipes, his Thai curries fusing Cali flair with my Tex-Mex twist from Mom's old cards, gardens tilled for heirloom tomatoes that burst like promises on our tongues. Mornings unfolded lazy, coffee on the porch, his feet in my lap, newspapers skimmed for progress, state laws shifting toward equality, local ordinances echoing. Suspense, that old specter, lingered in echoes. Post-trial appeals dragged, Harlan's lawyers dredging character assassinations, subpoenas pulling us back to stands for clarifications. One deposition, the defense attorney sneered. Your relationship, did it provoke the victim's ire, leading to his demise? Jordan's retort was ice. Love didn't kill him. Secrets did. I squeezed his knee under the table, anchor steady. Outside, media mutated, from sensationalism to spotlights on healing, a documentary crew filming Willow's reckoning. Our story, the emotional core. Romantic depths plumbed new waters. Summer road trip to Niagara Falls. Motel, kitsch, mist-kissed walks, his laughter echoing as we posed kitschy under rainbows. In a heart-shaped tub, bubbles foaming, he traced my laugh lines. These are my favorites, he said, serious. Maps of joy you found without me. Tears pricked. I pulled him atop, water sloshing, rhythm building to crescendo of connection. Raw, reaffirming, body speaking gratitudes words couldn't. Back home, challenges tested. Jordan's gallery hit expansion snags, funding dry-ups from conservative donors spooked by the murder ties. On moonlighted designs, crowdsourcing via queer networks, campaigns surging with stories. Art saved me from shadows like willows. Success flowed, walls expanding to include community murals, kids like Timmy wielding brushes, colors defying drab. Humanistic heartbeat in margins. Margaret's decline accelerated. Hospice visits became ritual, her bedside tales weaving Elias's complexities, youthful dreams of poetry dashed by politics, a closet door slammed by ambition. Envied your courage, she told Jordan, frail hand in his. In the end, he whispered your name proud. Jordan grieved messy. Paintings abstract storms, nights curled fetal. I held space, no fixes, just presence. Walks where silence sufficed, shared tears over her favorite pie. Her passing in September was gentle, autumn leaves carpeting the grave like farewells. Funeral small, healing, Jordan's eulogy a masterpiece of grace. She taught us love bends, doesn't break. Afterward, in the hail plot's quiet, he scattered wildflower seeds. Growth from roots, he explained, eyes on mine. We made love that night in the manor. Empty now, ghost banished by gasps and grips, reclaiming space, turning haunt to home. Fall deep in bonds. Harvest Festival redux, no blowouts but booths with ally flags, dances inclusive. We volunteered, flipping burgers, Jordan sketching portraits for donations, my inks on temporary tattoos, sparking joy. A young couple, nervous hands linked, approached. Your story. It gave us guts. Jordan hugged them, voice thick. Pay it forward. Winter's hush brought introspection. Cabin snowbound. We journaled, dual volumes of us. Then and now. Pages filled with letters to future selves, recipes for resilience. Holidays amplified warmth. Lydia's Hanukkah lacks mingling with our Yule log, toast to absent but ever-present. New Year's, under stars, rings exchanged, simple gold, engraved found again. Partners and all, I vowed. His kiss sealed it, snowflakes melting on lashes. Spring's thaw mirrored inner blooms. Gallery thrived, traveling shows to NYC, where we crashed my old Brooklyn haunts, bar hops with toasts to the one that got away. Nah, he came back. Pride Month, Willow's first parade. Us on a float, rainbows cascading, cheers a chorus of acceptance. Yet meaning's pinnacle lay in legacy building. We founded Hail Rivera Haven, scholarships for queer youth artists, first recipient Timmy, beaming at award night. You showed me hiding snow life, he said. Jordan teared, pulling me on stage. We learned together. Years folded forward. Adoptions considered, a sibling set, brown-skinned like me, eyes curious, travels to Paris ateliers, gray hairs twinning. Challenges ebbed, health vigilance, town backslides, but love's constancy prevailed, a beacon. In twilight years, porch rockers creaking, grandkids clambering, Jordan's head on my shoulder. Best plot twist, he murmurs. I smile. Ours. From 1998's Lost Boy to this, love's narrative, dramatic, redemptive, profoundly human. Proof that holding on heals worlds. Epilogue's grace unfolded not in grand finales, but in the quiet cadence of days woven tight. By 2035, the cabin stood sentinel over a Willow Creek reborn, community center adjacent to the gallery, murals sprawling like veins of color through streets once monochrome. Jordan's hair, fully silver, framed a face etched with laugh lines. His hands arthritic but sure on canvas, mentoring circles of young creators who saw in him not icon, but kin. I, grayer and slower, ran the tattoo parlor with an apprentice. Timmy, now 20-something, his designs blending street grit with ethereal grace. Drama's remnants faded to footnotes. Harlan's appeals denied. The network unraveled, exposing hypocrisies that prompted reforms, anti-discrimination codes, mental health outreaches for closeted elders. We'd testify to hearings, Jordan's voice a clarion. Hate thrives in silence. Let stories breathe. Applause followed, but for us, victory was personal. Nights when old nightmares stirred, met with arms and here, always. Romance, matured to vintage wine, retained its spark. Anniversaries marked with rituals. Lake swims, chilly but cherished, recreating 98's first kiss under the oak, now strung with lights. Intimacy evolved. Less frenzy, more savor. Mornings tangled lazy, his fingers tracing my spine's tattoos, whispers of still mine eliciting shivers. Travels punctuated, Iceland's auroras mirroring our inner lights, Tuscany vines echoing resilience. Humanistic core pulsed in ripples. Haven scholarships burgeoned, alumni returning as donors, cycles of uplift. Margaret's garden at the manor, willed to us, bloomed communal, yoga under roses, picnics sharing Elias's redeemed tales. A documentary premiered, Threads of Truth, Our Art the Spine, screening sparking dialogues nationwide. Challenges persisted, softened by time. Jordan's hip surgery, my vision blurring, but adaptations came easy. Canes as props for dramatic entrances, audiobooks narrated in tandem. Grandkids adopted duo grown, their own kids tumbling. Fill holidays with chaos joyful. Eggnog spills, carols off-key, stories of Grandpa Alex's rescue mythologized. One crisp October eve, mirroring our first meeting storm, we walked the shore, Kane's tapping rhythm. He paused, locket glinting, our band still threaded. If I could whisper to that scare boy in 98, he said, eyes lake deep, I'd say, hold on, he's worth the wait. I cupped his face, thumbs gentle, and I'd tell mine, fight, love like this. It's the win. Kiss followed, soft as forgiveness, fierce as youth, world fading to us, eternal. In life's close, meaning crystallized, from foundling sparks to enduring blaze, our tale affirmed love's alchemy, transmuting pain to purpose, isolation to interconnection. In America's vast mosaic, two men by a lake proved it. Humanity's brightest hue is courage to love wholly, unapologetically, leaving legacies that outlive storms, touching souls across horizons. And in that, we found not just each other, but the divine in the human heart, beating unbroken forever.